Hi. I think my topic is both less ambitious and more ambitious than the other talks. It's certainly a lot less technical than architecture or anthropometric history, which I even had to like rehearse in my head to make sure I said it right. It's not as much of a policy challenge as trying to change the way we all teach. Uh, but it is more ambitious in the sense that I think it goes against um, a lot of the tendencies that we have as a culture right now. I'm here to argue on behalf of doubt as a positive, productive, and progressive force, both in academia but also in the culture more generally. And I want to talk a little bit about how doubt is currently pervading my own field in quantitative social science. As an example of why this is sort of a more ambitious topic, it was mentioned at the introduction that this is kind of like a TED Talk. And so I thought to myself, what's a TED Talk like? I should make it like a TED Talk. And so a TED Talk, there's lots of enthusiasm, and there's a guy with a mic, is probably a 25-year-old billionaire, and he's very optimistic, and he's talking about innovation and iPhones and whatever. And the tagline is ideas worth spreading. And the TED Talk is like the opposite of doubt. I'm here to talk about ideas worth not spreading on behalf of skepticism. It's kind of a downer, right? It's the opposite of what you might want. But that leads me to the first point I want to make, the first sort of distinction I want to draw. Cynicism is not the same thing as doubt. Cynicism is the idea that nothing can ever be better. And doubt is the idea that everything can always be better. And that's a pretty important distinction in the sense of what it leads to in terms of action or thought. Cynicism leads you, to just give up. You become like the dude in The Big Lebowski. A doubt leads you to improve and to constantly try to make whatever it is you're working on, whatever your field is, whatever your job is, a little better. And so let me give you an example of why I think doubt is more of a productive force. So Karl Popper is a famous philosopher of science who propounded the idea that science is all about falsification. It's all about trying to prove ideas that we have wrong, prove theories wrong, which again seems like kind of a downer because you're always it seems like a destructive force. You're always trying to show why somebody else's ideas are wrong. But the point of falsificationism is to constantly ask new questions. To always ask, okay, so we have these theories, they say these things about the world. What questions haven't we asked yet? And are our theories able to give us good answers to those questions? And of course, the answer to that is almost always no. It's almost always the case that our theories are inadequate in a variety of ways, most of which were not even anticipated when the theory was originally developed. So it seems negative, falsificationism as a modus operandi for the sciences. But it's actually a very progressive force. It's constantly pushing us to figure out new questions to ask, new ways to attack our theory, new things that we can do with our theories that we couldn't do before. It's analogous if you're an economic historian. It's analogous to Joseph Schumpeter's idea of creative destruction. Capitalism is a destructive force. It puts people out of work. It makes businesses fail, but the reason for that is because things get better, right? We find new ways to do things, better ways to do things that replace those old things. So it's a creative kind of destruction. And falsificationism always focuses attention on asking new questions. It really is about creation as much as it is about destruction. So my field, which is quantitative social science, is confronting new doubts about our entire canon of findings. There's been a series of papers recently published by John Ioannidis, and the most famous one is titled "Why Most Published Research Findings Are False," which is definitely the kind of thing you want to find in your email box, at tenure time, like, oh, everything I know and everything I do is wrong. And in particular, this is targeted at medicine. Ioannidis is sort of working in biostatistics, but it could be easily, and it is equally applicable to all the quantitative. Basically, anything that uses statistics is probably a valid target of this criticism. And so right now, the discipline, my field, is going through a real soul-searching period of trying to figure out what to do about this. There are lots of people writing papers about it. I'm one of them. And some of these papers are even getting more popular attention, not just in Science and Nature, but also like in the New York Times. And that's a scary thing to think about, especially if you're a statistician who's been teaching students to do these things that are now questionable practices. But I hope what will happen as a result of this fundamental questioning of our methods is that we'll get better. We'll develop new methods. We'll ask new questions, which will lead to new ideas, new ways of thinking. And we'll get better as a result, and then that'll lead us to ask even new questions so we figure out what all the stuff we come up with next, why all that's wrong too. So I want to end with a quote, and in keeping with the theme of the talk, the quote is of doubtful provenance. There actually is, there are multiple people who have allegedly said it, and we're not sure which one's right. We have not succeeded in answering all our problems. Indeed, we sometimes feel we have not completely answered any of them. The answers we have found only serve to raise a whole set of new questions. In some ways, we are as confused as ever, but we believe we are confused at a higher level and about more important things. If I could frame that, I would. I guess I could if I tried harder. But that's what I'm arguing for, and I hope you'll agree with me. Thanks.